you trying to get crazy with this scene? Don't you know I'm loco?
What's up, everybody? This is Bobby Ruiz, aka Bobby Tribal. I'm here with my man Johnny Be Good, and this is the Lower Left Podcast, episode 1. We thought we'd bring you one of the first tribal artists as the first guest. This dude has been down with us since day one. He's done some of the first graphics for tribal. Mr. Dyse One. He's local here in San Diego. He's usually here in the building on the daily. So he's got a really cool story, super interesting. We're gonna kick it off like this. Tribal Lower Left Podcast, episode 1, Dyse. All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Bobby Ruiz, aka Bobby Tribal. Welcome to the Lower Left Podcast. Once again, today is this is how I wanted to kick this off. Like, there's a lot of people who've contributed to tribal, the lifestyle, the brand, and just me and my journey in general. The dude I brought in today, I've known since he was a youngster, like a little skater kid running around with shorts and a trippy haircut and, you know, writing on walls and shit. So today, I'll bring in Dyse One. Dyse One is one of the dudes that I first met when I was, learning about the San Diego graffiti scene in regards to, like, you know, what was happening on the streets with more of a hip hop style graffiti. And he's been a contributor to the brand since like 1991. You know, we've been through a lot together. We've traveled. We've been to Thailand and Japan and all over the States. We've done trade shows and just a lot of other stuff, you know, local stuff, parties, events, whatever together. So, here he is, my brother Dyse One.
What's happening?
What's up? There he is. So Mr. Dyse One. Let's start by, going back, you know.
How far back?
What I'd like to know is, like, what are some of your earliest memories as a kid? You know, like, just what can you remember, like, early growing up, and you know, where did you grow up, and where did your journey start?
Man, as far back as I can remember, I think when I was up till I was like 4 or 5, I lived with my dad back east. And
where's that? Where in back east?
Lived in Wisconsin.
Cool.
Kind of he was an alcoholic, so I stayed with him till I was like I think I was like 5, and I got on a plane, came out here. My mom and my brother lived out here, so moved out here. She had already had custody figured out for me, so she took over custody. So I never went back, never seen him again. And kind of started looking up to my brother, and he was a little bit older. He's like 3.5, 4 years older than me. So he was always, you know, more up on things, and back then it was early 80s. So I think the first thing I remember in hip hop kind of was getting into writing on walls and all that was seeing I want to say Beach Street maybe, and man, seeing that and just kind of catching myself, me and my brother running around, you know, scribbling on walls and doing that. And later on, he hooked up with some cats from school that were actually doing graffiti and all that, and he would come home with like outlines and like little sketches on his peachy folders. And
so your brother
was probably like my biggest influence that steered me to that, you know, to painting and, you know, into the graffiti world. Who introduced me to it, kind of, because I was a kid. I was young.
So his brother, shout out Mike, Chano. I used to call him Buzz because he always looked, you know, he'd always show up. He always looked like he was buzzed. Real good dude. So your brother was kind of like an early inspiration.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so you were brought up by a single parent, pretty
Single
much,
parent,
by your
yeah.
mom.
My mom and my brother.
So, what else were you into as a preteen, like as a before you were a teenager, as a real youngster?
Riding bikes, drawing. I love to draw, even since I was, man, as far back as I can remember, maybe 6, 7. You know, I always loved to draw.
So you knew early on that you were an artist and you enjoyed art.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you used to draw, like right now you're primarily known as a
letters
guy?
No, back then it was characters. I mean, I think I drew.
I
I think one of my
characters.
favorite characters when I was a kid. I think I still have pictures too somewhere stashed away. Was like Donald Duck, Daffy Duck. You know,
Minnie Mouse.
I did a couple of those. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouses. Yeah, I did a couple.
I remember that, like back in the early days. You were doing a lot of letters and more characters, simple characters, but clean. They were always real clean characters.
I mean, I think as a graffiti artist in doing that, I mean, coming up, at least back in our times, I mean, a graffiti artist kind of had we kind of had to do it all. You know, it wasn't just, oh, you're a letter guy. You know, it was like you took your risk back in them days to do a full piece, and a full piece consisted of character, letters, background, everything. So
I think you were out there making a name for yourself, and you did a good job as a youngster, because you were like, when you were just a kid, when I met you, I don't know, you were probably like 15,
15,
15, and people were already saying this kid, because you had that perspective that you had to do full pieces. You know, you had to do backgrounds and letters and characters and kind of get it all together, you know. But
I mean, since I was that age, I mean, I want to say since I was like 14, I'd say 14. I mean, I was already traveling. I mean, I was always in the back of a truck going up to LA and, you know, hitting Melrose and hitting all them yards, Pico Yard, Sunset, Fairfax, you know.
Who stood out to you back then out of all those LA cats?
I mean, Risk, of course. Risk was always probably, I mean, in every interview I've ever done, even when I did like the Videograph interview back in the days, which they never even aired because, I don't know, I want to say because they asked me who my influences were back then. And I said, you know, Risk from LA and the homie Dream, rest in peace, from Oakland. I was like, those were like when I was younger coming up. I mean, and seeing their stuff was really hard back then because we didn't have internet. You couldn't go to the internet or go to Instagram and see all these pieces. Like, you either, back then I pen palled. I mean, I pen palled with Dream for years, sending pictures back and forth, me and him sending pictures of our pieces back and forth and communicating through letters, back then. And I mean, that was how we got to see things going on all around the world, was through like pictures being sent all over the world from different writers to different writers and seeing them. And it was like, and I mean, but Dream and Risk were like probably my outside of San Diego influences.
How about in San Diego? Besides your brother, I mean, you and I know that there was some real talent in San Diego.
Oh yeah,
I think got overlooked.
Oh yeah,
like there's some talent that came out of San Diego that, of course, Zodak.
Oh yeah,
Zodak. Quasar was a beast.
Yeah, and Quasar was probably one of the main ones who taught me like the fundamentals, and he's the one that taught me the proper ways of doing lettering. He's the one that taught me balance. He taught me all that, and I have to, Quasar was like a big part of my early years in graffiti. I spent a lot of time with that dude, back then.
Saki
too. Saki, I mean, I met Saki before I met anybody, and
yeah.
I spent many moons, many hours hanging out at Saki at his house.
And he was excited, bro.
Oh, yeah,
I remember the excitement that Saki used to bring to the scene.
Man.
He was pumped up, dude. And he, he was just all around a good person. He drops in once in a while. He drops in the building once in a while here. Maybe we'll get him on at some point. But, San Diego was bubbling at that time.
Yeah.
What yards did you used to paint mostly?
San Diego, I mean, Spring Valley Wall. Spring Valley Wall was probably one of the, Spring Valley Wall, Spring Valley Ditch, 33rd Street, Pitts, on both sides, underneath the Market side and all the way over by the National Avenue side.
Old Town.
Old Town, California Street. Man, there's so many spots. South Bay, right off of Coronado Avenue. I mean, man, there's so many yards. So many. Back in the days, in Spring Valley, we had the 2-yard and the 5-yard. I mean, those were the abandoned houses. I mean, man.
How old were you?
Like 10, 11.
Already, like.
Oh, yeah. Just racking paint, just shit out there running around and scrawling my name. And
so I'm going to say something, not just because you're my boy, but I know your diversity. I know your history. I know what you're capable of with not just wild style letters and full burners and what you can do with, like you were saying, backgrounds and fills and style and blending styles together and, you know, logos and, you know, gangster letters and all that. It's like, there, in my opinion, honestly, bro, like there's not a lot of dudes out there that can get close. You know, I know there's some real talented dudes out there but they don't have what I would say is the diversity, the skill as far as like, you know, you can go to town and with just some wild style, full color. And you've heard me say this before, letters and go up against the best. And you could do the same thing with, you know, gangster blocks and neighborhood styles. And then I've seen you, and what I could really appreciate is the way you blend the styles and you come up with graffiti letters that flow like graffiti letters, but look like neighborhood style letters or old English letters. And you don't see a lot of that. You know, I don't think there's anybody that I don't know everything, bro. I don't see everything that's out there. You know, I'm not familiar with everything, but you know, there's not a lot of, I haven't seen anybody that can touch that diversity at that quality, at the quality that you bring. Yeah, there's people that can do it probably, but not even close to the quality. So we'll get back to that after a while. But anyways, so yeah, man, you're a product of Southern California like the rest of us. So you grew up mostly on the streets of San Diego. I think you were in Chula Vista for a while, and then you moved to the neighborhood.
Yep.
So what else did you dig besides just, you know, the graffiti and writing on walls and stuff like that? Where else were you into?
I mean, graffiti, writing on walls at one point in time, like you said earlier. I mean, I used to love to skate. Everybody knows. I used to love to skate. You know, back when I was younger, I mean, I loved to ride bikes. You know.
What kind of bike? What kind of bike?
Oh, you already know.
We'll get to the bikes later. Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't into like other things though. Like I wasn't into sitting at the house and watching cartoons. I hated video games. Couldn't stand video games. Didn't have the patience for them. Man, I probably broke so many Atari controllers, man, because they didn't go right when I thought I was going right.
Said Atari.
And it's like, man, I never got into video games. I never got into that. I never got into cartoons. Back in the days when people were watching cartoons, I was watching Kung Fu theater. I was watching Kung Fu movies, and you know, I was into that. I was into fighting. I loved to fight. When I was young, I used to love to freaking fight.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love to be out on the streets.
Yeah.
As soon as I got up, I'd be gone. And I come home when I came home, you know. Sometimes I wouldn't come home all weekend. My mom would be like, "Where the hell are you at?" I'm over here. I'm over here at Ivan's house. I'm over here.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be over here. And she'd be like, "All right, you good?" And I'm good. You know, I was like freaking 10, 11 years old, gone for the weekend. Be back before Monday.
Yeah. So all over the streets. So skateboarding, bicycles at BMX, whole BMX scene, and
mainly just writing on walls.
Yeah.
I love to write on walls. I love to draw. I mean, I can't say that. I take that back. I didn't love to draw. I didn't really love me. Everybody who knows me knows I didn't really like to draw. I wasn't a drawer. I ain't that dude that had all these black books and sat there and did all these things, I wasn't in it. I do some pencil sketches maybe to get a rough idea, but I'd say about 65-70% of the things I painted on the wall, I didn't have an outline for. I would just go to the wall, I'd stare at it, I'd make a couple lines, and I would just flow.
Oh, I seen you do them lines with your fingers.
Yeah.
You stand at the wall and you point at the wall and you're making movements with your fingers and you're kind of just looking at it. Yeah.
I map it out and I go for it. I wasn't a drawer. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I don't know. I guess sitting in one spot for too long, I didn't, I just wasn't into it, which is a trip because now I do computer graphics and I'm always on the computer and I got to sit there and freaking vector pieces and I'm sitting there like tapping away, clicking away and like, damn.
Yeah.
This is a trip, I guess, how things go. But even to then, I don't really draw nothing, I got lazy, I don't know if I got lazy, but I let the computer do most of I vector it in and I let the computer do most of my hard work.
Right.
But I mean, I still can paint it though. I can still go out there and freestyle a wall and make it completely balanced,
Yeah. That's for sure. So, as people know, like anybody that knows your style and knows, who you are and what you represent, you obviously, got involved in the lowrider scene, lowrider car clubs. You've built a couple real sick rides. You've got a reputation in Southern California for, you've been all over the scene for a while. When did you discover the car culture and a love for low riding or just the culture in general? I mean, the other side of that, not to say that low riding is gangster, but it's definitely something from a lot of the same neighborhoods. But you're no stranger to the gang culture and lettering. Like your letters are sick. I know for a fact because I've known you since then. You used to put in a lot of work on the streets for your neighborhood, just getting up and doing block letters and developing your own style of letters and getting up. So talk a little bit about, how you developed that style and when you kind of not transition, but when you started experimenting with block letters and gang letters and,
I mean, I want to say
neighborhood shit.
90s, early 90s, hella early 90s when I guess you want to say graffiti kind of took a turn for, tag banging, so to say, I guess, it was like, everybody was tag banging. So I don't know. I guess I just took the other route, which I think a lot of us did. I mean, I want to say, man, probably about 75% of the homies and friends that I had growing up I was out there writing on walls with and tagging with. And I think like 75% of us took the neighborhood route, whether it was Sherman, Shelltown, Logan, whatever it was, we took the neighborhood route, you know, and that's what happened. I took the neighborhood route. And so graffiti wasn't really accepted, tagging wasn't accepted by the homies. It was like, they didn't like tagging, but I love to write on walls, so took it from, I mean, I could always write like that. My brother would, growing up, my brother was from Sherman. So he wrote like that. My brother didn't tag, he wasn't like a tagger. My brother was a freaking gang member when I was young. So he wrote on walls. And I mean, my brother had badass hand styles. My brother could freaking write his ass off.
Yeah, I remember.
And, so I mean, growing up with gang writing wasn't like I didn't know about it or I didn't do it. I could always write like that. Back when I was young, I just like doing graffiti. I like wild style. Yeah. And, so, I mean, doing that kind of stuff didn't, it was normal. It's still normal. Yeah. It was just, but out there doing writing on walls, doing blocks and having bullets flying off the wall while you writing blocks because you in a rival neighborhood. And it's like, you just got really good at it, Yeah. And I guess I got really good at it. I could do it really fast. I was always really fast and I was always really clean, you know, so.
And that's real. I mean, I can vouch for that. I know what you've done and where you've been. And
as far as the lowrider culture and growing up into that, I mean, yeah, when we're young, we grew up in the neighborhoods. I grew up in the neighborhood since I as far back as I can remember. And I always seen lowriders. I mean, it was like you were a kid. Like I never thought growing up, oh, I'm gonna have one of them. I didn't think growing up, I didn't think I lived to see, I didn't think I lived to see my 21st birthday, to be honest. So, I mean, the path I was on in them years, I mean, it was a no good path. So, I mean, who would have thought, A, I would have lived to have a lowrider, B, lived to have a successful company that I've been surviving off my artwork since as far back as I can remember. And, just doing positive things in the community, and I would have never thought I would be standing here. I mean, I wouldn't think I'd be here doing this podcast with you today.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, you already know. Like, I've seen you go through some shit. And it's cool because a lot of the same cats, you know, there's a few of them downstairs right now getting tattooed. Your homeboys are here in the building. And it's cool how we've all kind of progressed. Oh, yeah. You know, to be adults.
Some grew up, some didn't. Some still, some we all know, some of our homies are still freaking stuck.
Doing stupid
They're stuck
shit.
in that same, you know, it's like, I mean, that's them though. You kind of gotta, you understand them. Chances of them popping out of that are slim, you know, especially when they're already practically in their 50s, if not in their 50s, and they're still living that hard life, man. I mean, I guess.
Yeah. So did you ever think that, you know, none of us did, but, you know, did you ever think like back when you were writing on walls and, you know, stealing paint and doing, you know, letters for the neighborhood and running around, you know, doing the shit that we did, getting fucked up and hanging with the neighborhood, that you would ever be able to make a living off of this lifestyle, off of your graffiti skills, off of your, not just make a living, but, you know, be able to travel and be able to like share our culture here from Southern California with the rest of the world and show images or share images of our lifestyle with everybody in the world, basically, you know? Did you ever think that you would make it this far?
No.
I mean, as far as, you know, making a living off of it.
Man, never. I mean, it's making a living and just, I mean, just being here, you know? And seeing everything that we've created since the beginning. I mean, like you say, I've been here since the beginning. When we started, there was nothing going on what we were doing. There was nothing, you know?
And that's kind of I was actually going to bring that up. But when you were talking about your brother did gang letters, and those are the letters that we knew, you know, the dudes that are older than you. We didn't know tags. Yeah. I couldn't read that shit. Yeah. The first couple of times I seen it, I was amazed when the first time I started seeing, you know, graffiti letters in San Diego or tags or things with color, you know what I mean? Or with a different style. Yeah. So you being the reason the homies weren't into it because it was brand new to them. You were at the forefront of the San Diego graffiti scene. Yeah. You were right there doing it when it came to life here, when it was born in San Diego. Yeah, the dudes in LA and maybe San Francisco had a jump on it. Yeah. But as far as what was happening here in San Diego and Southern California, I mean, our part of Southern California, like you were at the forefront of that. So yeah, people didn't understand it. I remember getting frustrated when I knew there was a tag. I couldn't read that shit. Yeah. But you know, over time now I could read, you know, pretty much anything.
No, I mean, there's still things I see today. I scratch my head and I wonder, like, does that even say anything?
Yeah, but now you don't see the style. Yeah. You don't see people taking as much time to develop a hand style or a technique, at least here locally. And you're starting to see a resurgence of the tag bangers. Yeah. You know, I'm looking at, you know, we both read graffiti. Yeah. Like that's kind of something that,
I mean, that's something we drive down the street and we're like, I'm looking at the walls. People drive down the street and my wife's like, what are you looking at? Oh, I'm looking at the writing on the walls. Yeah. Hey, that's how I read the streets. That's how I know what's happening. I mean, I don't have to be here every freaking minute of the day or every day to know, all right, there's a war going on. Yeah. Or, oh man, damn, these fools are, oh damn. You know, I mean, I see it all. I mean, I don't even got to hear about it. I mean, I get phone calls. I don't even got to hear about it. I already know what's cracking off.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see who's doing what and going. But what I guess I'm saying is, like, I'm looking at some of these local graffiti crews that are coming up because they come in here to buy paint and streakers and markers, whatever. Not just, you know, for that, but this lack of style. You know, I don't see you guys. People took a lot of pride in their tag, in their crew, in the way they put their crew up, just like a neighborhood.
I want to say it's guidance in all aspects. Maybe because there's nobody out there showing kids. Okay, it could be that. There could be two things. It could be a mix of both. That there's not a lot of people out there guiding these kids like how when we were we were all we had. I mean, we were it.
But so, you guys were students of the letters,
and we were showing each other. I mean, we were constantly together, and we were trying at that time, say in the 80s and whatnot, we were trying to put San Diego on the map. Like that was our ultimate goal. And we did everything. And then you're talking about putting it on the map worldwide without internet. Yep. So we're doing everything possible without internet to get San Diego just known all over the world, whether we were traveling, whether we were in LA, whether we went to Frisco. I've been to Oregon, man. I was like, I don't even know how I was freaking young. I jumped in the back of a van, hid in the far back of the van where the luggage was at, and popped up when we got to like Burbank. I had like the whole van except for the 2 people that were in the far back that knew I was back there. They were freaking pissed. Yeah. Because everybody paid for this trip. And here's freaking Dyse jumped up in the back. Hey, fellas, what's cracking? Everybody's like, what the hell is he doing? Oh, man, people were mad. And I was a kid. I would think I was like 15 years old. I had no money. I have shit. And I'm here I am in a freaking van with all these other cats. And we're going to freaking Oregon to go paint some graffiti brawl battle in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah. I have no money. So it was fun though. I went up there and freaking had no money, stole everything. I probably stole everything or hustled or freaking scammed people into getting me shit and painted a freaking, nobody would let me paint on the wall. So I painted an illegal wall on the opposite side of the tracks, painted a freaking burner, dope ass burner. And I mean, I had a good ass time. It was fun as hell.
But speaking of fun, dude, you know, I have kind of, I don't know if you'd call it like on a mission or a chip on my shoulder, a quest or whatever about this whole streetwear thing that's going on, you know, being at the forefront of it here in San Diego. You know, this is where 432F came from. This is where ASR was. It was here and in Long Beach, but the life of it and the roots of streetwear. And I tell people if streetwear was born anywhere, it was born at 432F. And that's because that's the first time that all these brands got together, not just brands from Southern California, but the people from New York with Stash and Futura. And that's where I met Mark Echo and Shepard Ferry and, Triple Five Soul and, all the brands from LA, like, obviously Third Rail and Kickwear and Gat and Con Art. And, like you said, this was internet, pre-social media, everything. There was nothing for us to use as a role model. Like the role models, the biggest role model that I had was like Stussy, but to me, Stussy wasn't really street. Stussy represented a lifestyle, but they didn't really partake in it or live in it. To me, they used it more as a marketing campaign. Not to take anything away from them. I still think they're a dope brand. I love that brand, but before then you had brands like Santa Cruz, Dogtown, Palo Peralta, the skate brands that were badass. Love those brands doing their thing. But there was nothing that was street, that had the diversity that not just you and I, but so many others lived with, the tattoo culture and obviously low riding and graffiti and the 4 elements of hip hop and all the things that we were into. But tell me a little bit about how you perceived, because you were right there the whole time, when the first days of 432F, how that felt. And then, the way we used to do ASR and just the way all that kicked off.
Oh man, going back. I mean, it was way, I mean,
it was exciting. Huh?
It was exciting, man. Damn. It was real exciting. I mean, I know we all couldn't wait for trade show time. I mean, it was crunch all the way up to it, and it was like, damn, it was a lot of work to get to it. But then as soon as it got there, it was like, man, it was fun. And then, I mean, like you say, you get to everybody's in town, so everybody comes here and it was like a party, man. It's a big party. It was a big party where work still got done, unlike, I guess nowadays or present time where you have trade shows, they ain't like how they used to be. I don't think, unless you were around back then, I don't even know how to explain it to you. Like it was freaking off the chain.
You could tell it was something brand new. It was fresh.
Oh yeah, it was so fresh.
The excitement and flyers. And events,
after party, everything. And I mean, after parties were. I mean, it wasn't like you had to throw a party and pay such and such, whatever you got to pay one of these dudes to come out to your party. Like, dude, everybody would be in them parties. You know, everybody. We all be partying together. Like famous hip hop heads, anybody. I mean, everybody, models, rock stars, everybody be there, and we'd just be having a ball. And it was just normal. It was like a normal thing back then. Nowadays, it's like starstruck, and you want this dude to come to your party, you got to pay him, he'll come, you got to go through his manager. Back then, times were just, I don't know, everything was just different.
This was even pre-rap rock. This was hip-hop was fresh. Like, that was, Eazy-E was coming to trade shows, and the Booyah, and, Cypress Hill was just getting going, and, the homies from POD. It was the early days of things that were so groundbreaking, but, the whole streetwear scene was, I think, one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting scene you could be involved with in Southern California, because that's where everybody got together.
Yep.
When you came to these shows, if it was ASR, it was a 432F, you had the best skaters.
Yep.
You had the sickest B-boys, DJs, the lowriders would come out. Artists, just everything, clothing designers. But then it started coming, we were attracting people, not we, but 432F and the trade shows. And us too, I guess, to San Diego. And then afterwards, it was all about, we hosted this city. Yeah. Like, all of our friends that came from LA and came from New York, they turned to us like, well, what's happening afterwards? Well, we got you. We're going to do this, come to the shop, or go here. Let's go do this. Or, there was always something cracking, but it was, it was the birth of streetwear. It was real motherfucking streetwear, not some shit that's made off a keyboard. And
it was one of the things, and it was only the strong survived, because there ain't too many left.
Yeah, it's true, and I'll attest to that. It's a trip. But on another note, I know that from what I saw, you're experimenting. You're doing some really cool new paintings. Now you've kind of expanded what you're using to paint, and the style of your paintings, and I see you kind of going out, like experimenting with different types of techniques and different processes and different things. And I know you've been having a lot of fun with it, and it's been exciting the last couple months since you've really dug back into it. You want to talk a little bit about that, and if, how does it feel? Like, I know you can't hold on to some of your paintings, like they're just flying. Like, people are just going nuts for your paintings.
I think everyone is sold. Every time I do one, I think it sells, and I'm like, whatever. I mean, I'd rather have it hanging on somebody else's wall than sitting in my studio, me staring at it, because I can only stare. I start turning them around, like. But no, I started experimenting with different things. I mean, I recently just got an airbrush, so I mean, I never airbrushed. I don't airbrush. And I recently picked up a whole freaking airbrush thing. Mm-hmm. I recently just picked up a whole pinstriping kit. So I got a whole one-shot pinstripe kit, brushes, everything. So I'm shooting for that. I've been having fun with with the epoxy stuff. I mean, mixing epoxy with other mediums. I mean, with spray paint, with acrylic, with everything. I mean, that's freaking fun. That's badass. And then just painting, man. I think I've done more painting in the last couple weeks than I've done in the last freaking 10 years.
Yeah, that's the shit. So, and you're really enjoying it.
Oh, I'm enjoying it, man. I'm up all night, freaking talking to myself, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" Like I'm over here plotting. I'm over here talking. I'm having a business meeting with myself right now. I'm trying to think of better ways to go about doing these things, like easier, ways to make my life a little bit easier. I do everything. I'm old school, so I do everything the hard way. I don't do things this, I'm like, I talked to a couple other people, and they're like, man, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I'm like, yeah, I should try that, huh? And they're like, dude, it would make your life a whole lot easier. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to give that a shot, man.
And that's something that I think is really cool. Is like you just said, you have people around you, and we have people around us where we're always sharing ideas and concepts, and we're always pushing each other and trying to get each other to the next level, and trying to build and promote and just kind of be on the same team. And that I think is one thing that we're real fortunate to have down here. So tell us a little bit about Dyse One as the clothing brand and how that started off, and a little bit about the past, the present, and where you want to see it like in the future.
Past, I had a company before I started the Dyse One stuff. This would be pre 2005. As you know, I got into clothing from even doing first designs for Tribal and doing designs for many of them original streetwear companies that started back in the days, and having my own company with my mom and my brother and a really good close friend of mine back then. Kind of lost interest in that. Screwed that up. I screwed that up, but I was young, so I couldn't blame myself now, but screwed that up because I made more money doing artwork for other companies, so. And I didn't understand the business aspect of things when I'm freaking 14, 15 years old. I didn't understand none of that. I'm like, man, I want money,
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I can go do a design and get, back in the days, get $400 or $500 in freaking 1990 for a 14-year-old kid or whatever, man, that's like, shit, that's good ass money right there. You're like, man, I got $500. I remember me and Zodak going and doing designs, and we go pick up checks, and we'd be like, shit, fool, we both got $500. What are we going to... Me and Zodak would go hit Horton Plaza, go to the Guest store. Like, we was just balling out of control, go buy a whole outfit, go out, and it was funny, man. But, I mean, we were kids. And then, I mean, as far as where Dyse One is at now, I mean, Dyse One's cool. Dyse One's at a cool spot, I put out a catalog every twice a year. So I come up with new graphics every, so often. Everybody knows I still do San Diego. I do hometown stuff. I try to do that as much as possible. I try to release that, at least 4 times a year. I mean, the clothing thing, man, I've been doing it for a long time, man. And I mean, it don't get every year. It don't get easier. People, I want to start a clothing company. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that, man. Let me know how that works out for you.
I think it's become more difficult now to do it.
Oh, it's hard.
What do you think of where streetwear or brands are right now as compared to like where they were in the late 90s, early 2000s? Like just the whole feel of the industry, and
I mean, I want to say now, I mean, a lot of things now in clothing, I think are saturated, I mean, it's easy for people to say, I want to do a clothing company and make shirts, and of course, everybody who's got their group or whatever, they got their homies that are going to support them and they're going to follow them. Therefore, it kind of, for the companies that are really out there, I mean, me, I don't wear really anybody's shit. I don't hardly wear anything, Mm-hmm. And I just think for clothing, man, it's a tough one nowadays, man. And then you got the epidemic that just happened. I mean, online's great. I mean, online sales, cool. As far as selling at retail, I mean, back in the days, think of how many retail stores we used to sell to. All of us.
They were everywhere.
Dude, had my retail list was like 1,200 stores plus international distribution.
Yeah, like
it was crazy. I mean, you're lucky if you sell to freaking, 300-400 stores, nationwide. And international distributions, even, I mean, it's rough overseas. I mean, between overseas going through, economic, hits and coronavirus hits. And I mean, it's rough out there, man. I'm curious to see how the clothing market, how 2021 is going to treat, the clothing market and how we're going to go, I mean, even as far as like events, I mean, there's no events, there's no car shows, there's none of that kind of stuff really happening, so I know a lot of mom and pop stores, and I mean around the nation. I mean, I know they struggle too.
The ones that survive. But I think that this is my own thoughts is like late 2021, maybe not even late. I'm hoping that by July, August, shit's gonna open up. And by opening up, I think shit's gonna blow up, like bars, restaurants, you know.
Oh, the minute it opens,
clubs,
shit's gonna go through the roof.
Yeah, live
it's
shows,
gonna be freaking
traveling,
crazy.
like parties. Just people are just gonna go nuts.
Oh yeah.
So I think the people that are in those industries that are able to hold on and are able to prepare for that fucking boom, I think are going to be in good shape, you know, and hopefully that's what's really going to get things going again. But, you know, even fucking Disneyland's closed, you know, like, and then they just opened the zoo for us here in San Diego, the zoo and Safari Park. And I don't know if
you got to make like an appointment or something to go there. Yeah, you got to make like appointments to go in.
But all these things that we took for granted living here. But, you know, we're fortunate, I think, that we are from San Diego or from a place where we have good weather and it's, you know, pretty cool. Like we go on our bike rides and, you know, we cruise our cars and we hang out still, you know, even being here in the building is pretty social, even though we all wear masks when we're here and we look out for each other. And yeah, COVID hit the shop. There was a couple people in here that got it, but, everybody was cool. Just those two. One of them was my son, but, no one else in my family got it, thank God. But, you know, I think it's gonna boom, and you know, all these scenes and all these things are gonna crack.
Oh, it's gonna go crazy. I already know it's gonna go crazy. Yeah. I mean, we ain't going nowhere. I mean, I think I was telling John, I think 2020 was probably one of my most profitable, probably one of my best years I've had in a long time. Yeah. You know, and which is crazy. You think about it, but we were talking about like the online boom. Yeah. I mean, the online boom is, you know, that saved everything. Yeah. Because I mean, the retail boom, the wholesale boom took a dump, you know, but the retail, the online boom, you know, went through the roof. People bored at home on their computers looking at shit that they like. And then they go to the little store shop page and they're buying. We did good too. You know, we're fortunate that we've been able to pull through it. So, you know, but I know you got another hobby that you've been fucking with lately. So, and it's kind of a lot of people in San Diego and LA, and it's just kind of become a thing, the resurgence of the BMX bikes. And I personally don't know much about that whole scene because I was never into it as a kid. You want to talk about that and what you think is going on with that and why so many people are attracted to it? And I've seen the numbers, like in regards to like what some people are paying to build some of these bikes. It's crazy. And to buy some of these bikes. And I can, you know, like I tell my friends that I can appreciate the craftsmanship, you know, the machining of, you know, the sprockets and the cranks and the, you know, the frames and the wheels and all the parts to build them beautiful, you know, machining and design and things like that. But it's kind of become like a real big deal lately. Why? And what do you think about that? I want to say the whole kind of 90s, everything that was kind of really popping in the late 80s and 90s is kind of circled back around. I think we finally went in a circle. And I don't know. I feel like the 80s and 90s is just kind of back, whether it has to do with, I think it's just everything. I think the whole concept of them days is just kind of, it just came back around and everybody's like, it's just like a hot thing again in every market. I mean, whether it's BMX, whether it's cars, whether it's, you know, whether it's the cholo scene. I mean, dude, I ain't seen so many damn Charlie Brown shirts and Cascade jackets and freaking Dickies, and I would think Aquanet and Tres Flores is freaking flying off the shelves everywhere. It's crazy, man. So I mean, I think that everything is kind of just came back, and it's just a happening time right now, and it's cool. I love it, man. I love the bike thing. I mean, I know you got a mini truck. I got me a little Nissan hardbody 88. You know, hard body, one of the first hard bodies. Got everything original on it. I got freaking OG paint. I got some OG Daytons from the freaking 80s. I mean, man, I don't know. It's just a little fun. It's just fun.
I think it happens like people, you know, in the 80s, like we were started building the cars from the 60s, you know, or in the we were looking, then there was a whole resurgence of that whole greaser rockabilly thing for a while. So I think it just kind of, it comes with that time period that people look back and bring back some of the and it's usually, I don't know, 20-year period, 30-year period, something like that. I mean,
it was just a matter of time before the 90s came back in full freaking swing.
I think this summer, it's going to come back a little harder when people are out on the streets.
Because last year, everything kind of got put on pause. The whole summer was kind of like, can we go in? Can we come out? Are we supposed to come out? Can we stay? You know, we didn't.
I think colors, you know, all the colorful parts of the 90s might hit again this spring. Like people are going to kind of, I mean, this summer, if everybody's out doing their thing, it's going to be a trip. I think it's really going to be a trip, and it's going to be interesting to see how people interact and how they respect each other. If people move a little more carefully, or they're afraid, maybe there'll be some new fear shit. But this, you know, it's been kind of a crazy thing. So, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to, or you want to, like, you know, something you want to say just because you have the mic?
I mean, shout out to my city, to the whole city. Everybody in it, you know, San Diego, shout out to you, Bobby, Tribal, Worldwide Click, been here forever, ain't going nowhere, you know. Shout out to Johnny be good in the building.
Johnny be good, he's right here. We didn't have that extra mic for him today, so Johnny is silent. Here, say what's up, Johnny.
You don't know how bad I wanted to say stuff while you guys were talking, but next time we'll get it set up.
Yeah, so we're just you know, getting through. We'll have that extra mic for Johnny. Yeah, shout out to Johnny and this building right here, man. I know Dyse spent quite several years in this building. We got some amazing, super cool people in this building right here. Yep. I'm sure that he meant to say what's up to Cadillac and Kuya.
Kuya, you know, Isaac, Ed Marley over there feuding right now. You know, everybody, you know, shout out to my wife, shout out to Click, you know, shout out to, you know,
Tone.
Shout out to San Diego, shout out to SD Tone, shout out to all the homies in the neighborhoods, you know, wherever you at, whatever neighborhood you from, you know. And
how about people like 81?
Oh, 81 out there in Thailand.
Yeah. Like Nori and Satoshi.
In Japan, you know. All day.
Yeah, it's some good shit, man. Well, I want to thank you for being our first guest on the Lower Left podcast, and you know, it was something that thought out, and you know, thanks, and we'll have you again soon. Maybe next year we'll do the same thing, or in a couple months get back and do it again. But thank you so much,
yes,
and Mr. Dyse One, respectfully,
thank you,
and the homie Johnny Be Good, Johnny Bayonne. He's on silent treatment. But he'll be back as soon as we get another mic. But thanks for tuning into the Lower Left podcast. This episode is not brought to you by Modelo, but we wish it was. And shout out to the homies from Salud and Por Vida and all that good stuff.
Everybody out there trying to do something.
Oh, we got the hibachi truck outside.
Oh, the hibachi truck's out front.
Yeah, a lot of hibachi.
Joey's out front.
Yeah, it's one of those days where we got a food truck sitting out front. So, but here we are, Lower Left. Thank you so much. Peace.